Hey there, Cubs, it's me, Alex. Well, today is a very, very special day. It marks the 2-year anniversary, I guess you could call it, of when I found out I was pregnant with Kenton. So today I wanted to do like a pregnancy and birth story, just because I wasn't vlogging at the time, and these are some memories that I want to hold on to, and the longer I wait to record this, the less I'm going to remember specific things. So, 2 years, long overdue, let's do a video. I wasn't looking to get pregnant, so it was a shock for me when I found out that I was. And at the time, I wasn't in the greatest spot financially. So I went and I found a pregnancy center that gave out free pregnancy tests. It did not take any time whatsoever for it to go positive. I started crying. I didn't know what I was going to do. I had just started a new career. Like, how was I gonna do this all? So finally the decision came down to, I felt I could do this. I felt I would be okay at being a mom, whether I was a single mom, whatever have you. So I decided I was keeping my little bundle of joy, and keep him I did. So the next big step was telling the father. I had kind of gotten out of touch with him. We met, we sat down, I told him, and again, he was shocked. So we had conversations. We came to this agreement that he wouldn't be in Kenton's life and I would be, and we would just live completely separate lives. Once all of that was sorted out, and that took almost my entire pregnancy to sort out what was going on, how things were going to work. So during my first trimester, I was extremely nauseous. I ended up losing 17 pounds. The doctors weren't overly concerned about it because I was already like a touch overweight to begin with, so they weren't overly concerned. So that's all fine and dandy. We got to hear his heartbeat. And it was great, and everything was happy. And at 20 weeks here in Canada is when you find out if you're having a boy or a girl. And I wanted to do a gender reveal. So I didn't find out during my ultrasound appointment. My nurse practitioner was the one who gave me the envelope that had the gender. So I met with her that day, and when we got talking, she told me that I have something called uterine didelphys, I think it's called. Basically, I have 2 uteruses. Well, I have 2 uteruses, but I also have 2 cervixes, and TMI, I used to have 2 vaginas. I got surgery to get that all sorted out. But that poses complications, and the closest thing that I could think of in that moment, I'd watched a little bit of Missy Landing, and that's the first thing that came to mind. And of course, like, I'm trying to maintain this face of like, I'm okay, like, we're good. I was trying to be strong. I ended up bawling the entire car ride back to work. So it was hard. I was nervous that I was going to lose my pregnancy, and as the pregnancy progressed and as things kept happening, I kept getting a little more and more comfortable with it. They knew that I had this. They could monitor it. Obviously, I got monitored more often than most pregnancies. I went in for ultrasounds on the regular until I was full term. And then they were just like, okay, we're good. Like, you're full term. If something happens, it happens. I ended up going to my last doctor's appointment. Well, it wasn't technically my last. It was my second last doctor's appointment in my pregnancy, but it ended up being the last. They do something called a stretch and sweep, and like hopefully that sometimes will induce labor within like a 48-hour period. I had a feeling it was going to, and sure enough, Friday morning I was getting contractions. I was timing them, I was ready to go, I wasn't in pain yet. So we went to the hospital, they hooked me up to all the machinery, got me all figured out, and told me, wah, 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 Alex, you're going home. You're going home. You're not ready. And I was so frustrated because I just knew, like, I knew he was coming that day. There was no questions asked. Like, that was happening. So we go home. We're not even halfway home, and I am just in absolute dire pain. My mom was laughing at me because I was, oh, I have a high pain tolerance. We came home. We did a couple of things, and then we went back to the hospital. Again, they hook me up to the machines, and once again, they tell me I'm not ready. But this time I got to stay at the hospital. They wanted me to walk around. I wasn't dilated as far as they would have liked, but my contractions were in time. I ended up going back to triage 20 minutes into my walk. I was in too much pain. They gave me morphine, and as they were giving me morphine and taking my blood for the epidural, our room was clearing out. So I got to move right into my room, and then 15 minutes after moving into my room, I got my epidural, which absolutely terrified me. So basically, they freeze your back before they give you the actual epidural. Well, my anesthesiologist was freezing me. I ended up moving, and he freaked out. He said, "You cannot move, like, please." And I started crying because at least at my hospital, they told my mom that she had to leave during this. So the only person I had for support was my nurse that was in the room with me and my anesthesiologist. So luckily I was hunched over on my nurse crying. My nurse was great. She was really sweet to me throughout that process. Now the thing with getting an epidural is you're stuck in your bed from the moment you get the epidural until the moment they deem you okay after you've had the baby. So I was bedridden the entire course of my labor, which was kind of a pain, but not too bad because it was a long labor. They ended up breaking my water. Things started to progress a little bit better. And then all of a sudden things kind of took a dip and slowed. And I ended up catching a fever. And things slowed. It wasn't until 6 or 6:30 in the morning the next day, so Saturday, that I was fully dilated and I could start, you know, the lovely experience of childbirth, which I'll spare you the details. It was not fun. It took about an hour of pushing for my little bundle of joy to be welcomed into the world. Oh, also forgot to mention, guys, when you're giving birth, leave your dignity at the door because embarrassing stuff happened. With me, because I had spiked a fever and I just was not feeling good, I ended up throwing up twice, and I actually ended up, the dishes they gave me were really, really shallow to throw up in. So the one time it like all came out and ended up all over the nurse, and I felt awful. So everything went well. I had my baby in my arms, and because of my lovely situation with having two of everything, they had trouble stitching me up. So they were having trouble. So I don't even think it was 5 minutes into Kenton's life that he unfortunately had to be taken from my arms, and I had to go to the OR because they needed more light to be able to see what they were doing. So my stepmom came with me. We went, and it was awful. Luckily, I still had my epidural plugged into me, so I was still feeding myself epidural medicine on the regular because it was not pleasant. Which I'm glad that I ended up going to the OR, because I do vividly remember I was holding Kenton, and I just remember being in so much pain that, like, A, my attention wasn't on him, but like I was worried about what was happening. I had lots of lovely visitors that day, and unfortunately, and this is one thing I will say, please, 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 please do not send your support person home that night. Like, you will need them the first night of your child's life. And I was like, okay, Mom, I feel really bad. Like, go home, have a good night's sleep, come get me in the morning. Like, I'll be okay. I regret that. It was a hard night. I went through 21 hours of labor. I was a new mom with this baby, and what was I supposed to do with it? Like, I didn't know what I was doing. Like, I made it through the night. Looking back on the situation, I wish I would have been selfish, and I wish I would have asked someone to stay. So that was basically the longest video of my life, and it was my birth story and my pregnancy story, and now obviously Kenton is 16 months by the time you guys are watching this, almost 17 months. And it's just crazy. It's crazy to think how quickly time goes by, and just 2 years ago, I was barely pregnant with him. Alright guys, you've made it to the end of the video. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, why are you still here? This was a long video of just me talking to the screen about a lot of too much information stuff. So why are you still here? Hey, I mean, kudos to you for making it here. Alright. Leave me a comment down below. Let's start a conversation. Always like talking to you guys. And as always, if you're new and you'd like to, you can subscribe. Also down below in a little button just lets you know when I put out new videos. But that's all for this Vlogmas day. I will see you tomorrow. Bye guys.